G'day, it's Rob here again. Well, today we're going to be doing another Banggood.com product review, and today we'll be looking at the Usewell ARC-250 160 amp 220 volt 50-60 hertz inverter stick welder. Something everybody needs. It's certainly going to be interesting because I've always used transformer welders over the years, and I've had lots of them. So they're AC welders, and now we're talking about DC welder, the new generation of welder, using the latest technology, the latest trickery, and yeah, it's going to be a very, very interesting review. All right, so when I've held my hand up and said, please, Banggood, can I have one of your welders out of the three that are available? They said, yep, no problem. Which one would you like? So I said, that one please, the Usewell. It's got features that I like. All three of the welders on the Banggood site have similar specifications, but this one, I like it, you know, specification wise. It's got a few extra things going for it, I think, which I'll explain in the video. So let's get on with the review and see what's in the package. Well, first off, I've got to say how surprised I am at the size of it, or lack of size. It's tiny. It came in a plastic wrap with some, you can see some foamy stuff here where it's been ripped, but that doesn't matter. And yeah, I've looked at these at engineering shops, you know, tool supplies, and most of these are quite large. And this is the middle-sized one. They've got an even smaller one, so I can't wait to open this up and see what it looks like inside. So we'll apply the knife and come back once I've got the covering off. It all looks to be in one piece. There she be. Had a biff on one end. Well, hope it's alright. It's all Chinese to me, but a welder's a welder. Right, well, let's open it up and see what's in here. It looks pretty neat. First thing I noticed is an earth clamp which wasn't shown in the original specification. Quite a good one actually. Yeah, these are quite good. This is way better than the cruddy ones you get quite often with the small cheap welders with just plain steel. You don't get the copper contact. So that's a surprise. I didn't expect that. A bit of cable. Not long enough to be much use really. Pull that another look. Here's the strap. I like this. This has got a handle. You see the other two they sell don't have a handle. In fact, a lot of them don't have a handle. But this is a great feature. I mean, carrying around with a strap, it's not my idea of fun. So it's well packed. So, oh goodness me. So I'm presuming this is all what would normally come with it. There's a welding grip in here as well, which also isn't shown in the rod holder. It's not shown in the description either. So I wanted to email them and make sure that this is in fact the normal contents of the box. I'm surprised. And we have a couple of dense connectors. That's the standard type of connector now, cable connector that pretty much universally used, and they're safer than the old lug type which I'm using. But yeah, I'll still be able to fit my big cables onto this welder to test it out, because I'll just make up some pins to go into the dense connectors. So we'll get around that little issue. And then we've got a user manual, and we've got something else in Chinese, and we've got a little Allen key Allen wrench for the dints connectors. That's it, box is empty. So, I mean, it's a pretty looking, it's a great looking little thing. I mean, wow, awesome. Incredible what they can do with electronics these days. So, turning it round, yeah, very, very impressive looking. It's neat. Yeah, all metal. That's why I chose this. Well, this is one of the reasons why I chose this one. Out of the three that I had, there are a number of things that made me go to this one. Yes, it is the ARC-250. It's exactly as shown in the images, except that, as I said, yeah, that I didn't expect to get the handpiece and the earth clamp, so I'll double check to make sure that that is part of the deal. Well, I can confirm that yes, you do get both of these items in the box, so this is exactly what every customer will get with the current batch. I've just done a reorder. So yeah, good quality electrode holder, full size, not one of these wimpy little things that you often get, and the same for the earth clamp. Good stuff. First thing we notice about this welder is it's got dense connectors. It's got them down low, which is good, so if you're pulling on the cables you can't pull the welder over. You know, some of these little welders, or some welders these days, have cables mounted up higher, so you know, if you were, say, dragging on the cable, which you could easily do, you could tip the little thing over, and you know, you don't want that happening. So I like that. That was one of the reasons why I picked this one. Also, another reason why I picked this is, okay, these dense connectors, they're meant to go in and the cable feeds in. These are 1025s, they'll take a 9mm cable core, and then you put insulators over them and the whole thing is safe. Now, the old style welders just had exposed bolts, and the tabs on the cables just bolted up. I mean, I've used them like that for years, and you know, most of the old welders were like that, but they were a fair way apart. For the sake of this test, I'm going to, and as I've got big heavy duty cables, and I want to use those because we don't want any amperage or voltage dropped, and that's what I would normally use anyway. I'm going to put the dense connectors in, but I'll use a bolt in the dense connector to connect the tab cables up. Down the track I'll shield all that, but for the sake of the review, we'll do it that way. Now, that is one reason why one of several reasons why I picked this one. The dense connector shields and the connectors themselves are down low. They also protrude out past the case, so if you do want to use tabbed cables with a bolt in the dense connector, you can do it. Where you've got a welder with these connectors set back in and the facing comes out, well, it's going to foul the tab, and you could have a short circuit, so you know, we don't want that happening. So that was a good point. The other point I've already made is, yes, this is all metal, which is great. I mean, a lot of these inverter welders being sold have got plastic ends on them, and you look at the reviews, and quite often, you know, the screws are stripped out or the tabs are broken off. You know, it's plastic. I mean, it's going to deteriorate over time. All metal, I really like that. And the knob feels really smooth and good, really good. I'm not sure about the scale. I mean, you're going up to 250 amps here. I mean, it'll be interesting to see how this scale relates to the actual rods being used. You know, I mean, you know that a 2.5mm rod will generally be around 100 amps, about that. So you would expect to be using a 2.5mm rod in that position, and yeah, we'll see what the scale really means. This welder is only rated to 160, which is this position here. What this last bit does is anybody's guess, but I suppose we'll find out. What else? Well, big fan in the back, once again. all metal, completely all metal. Big fan, which is good. Nice chunky looking switch, which is nice solid one. Those sort of clear ones that light up are a bit, they always look lightweight to me, so this is a good looking switch. No rubber feet, but that doesn't really matter. It's less to fall off, so the whole thing is quite ruggedly built, and it's got good ventilation. Once again, this is why I picked this one, because it's got good ventilation front and back and on the sides. The even smaller model that Banggood sell, smaller than this one, has no side ventilation, which I'm not really crazy about. You know, with electronics, you want as much cooling as possible, so yeah, you can suck in the sides and the front, travel through and then blow out the back. So, or maybe it goes the other way. I would expect it would blow out the back. We'll find out when we fire it up. So I'll have a look at the little manual now, and we'll just see what that all says, if it says anything of use. The two documents in the box are some sort of production ticket and the user's manual, English. It looks like it covers a whole range of models, but everything inside is in Chinese. It does give you some information though, specifications for the various models and welding rod sizes for the rods you'll be using, 2.5 and 3.2. And this little welder actually goes up to 250 amp, so it could run, definitely run 4s, probably run 5s, maybe. These are two rod sizes you won't be using for domestic use. This is the sort of stuff that you use to build submarines and tanks and, you know, bulldozers, heavy industry. So when they rate this welder at 160 amp and it's actually 250, what they're really meaning is that it is basically 160 amp for domestic home use off of a 10 amp power supply. Once you get up into this range, this thing will be looking for 15 amp power supply, and yeah, so I think basically that's what it's all about. So yeah, it should run up a 10 amp supply. Nothing much else in here. It's all just, yeah, Chinese stuff. Anyway, that's what you get. Here's the dinch connectors with bolts fitted, steel bolts. Now, steel's quite alright. In fact, didn't use them as cable joiners. They're generally steel rather than brass, because it's a lot stronger. And all the 90% of the welding outlets on the old style buzz boxes are steel bolts, but they're cadmium plated. This is just a temporary thing to do the review, and down the track I'll probably make some brass ones up, and that way you won't have any corrosion problems. But for now this will work fine. So yeah, we'll fit them into the unit. One thing I do like about this little welder, you know, it's a rugged little unit, and they've even gone to the point of stamping the positive and negative symbols for the outlets into the steel front. I think that's quite clever. That's cool. Yeah, I like that. Of course, up here, the only indicators you've got are power on, and I presume this one is temperature if it starts to overheat. This is probably what that's for. The power cable on this is 1.2 metres long. Good quality cable, good solid supporting grommet in the back of the case. 250 volt, 16 amp plug, and it's not an Australian type connector. So you can either snip off the plug and put on an Australian one, or you could use an international adapter. Now, an international adapter is generally only a 10 amp adapter. This is a 15 amp plug. However, as these are a low demand unit, as you're only using 2.5 or 3.2 mil rods, I would expect that this will run quite happily off of a 10 amp power supply, given that these use probably up to half as much amperage as the old buzz boxes. Now, with a buzz box you'd be using a 15 amp trip in the circuit, 15 amp breaker. A 10 amp would blow for sure, but on these I don't expect that's going to happen. So yeah, we'll try it initially with an international adapter and see how it goes. I expect it will cruise along quite merrily. If the adapter gets warm, you'll know that it's too much for it, but we'll see. One thing to be aware of with inverter welders is that some of them being sold are not earthed. In other words, the cases are not grounded, so if there was something, you know, a catastrophic failure, something goes wrong inside, you could get electric shock. So, is this one earthed? Well, we'll see. I've got a universal adapter here. I'll put it onto the ground pin. We'll go onto the case. Yes, it is earthed. So that's a good thing. That's a major plus. Right, well, we've got that universal connector on the plug, we might as well fire it up and see if it works. So, power on. It's making a noise. It's going. It's on a constant rate fan. Open a loop paper and see what's happening. So it's sucking in through the back and blowing out through the front and the sides. So most of it's coming out the front. But it's good having those side vents because it's just gives you that extra capability, extra cooling effect. Right, so you ready to go? Right, well here's my old buzz box that I've had for a while. I paid $35 for that second hand, and that's basically as good as they get. It's a 4-coil, basically 2 welders in one, 2 primaries, 2 secondaries in parallel, copper windings, 160 amps supposedly, but really only 140, because that's all the mains can deliver on a household supply. Great welder, welds beautifully. Now, I mean, you can get these for a song now, and if you haven't got much cash, well, go and grab one. They're better than nothing. They weld fine. They've welded everything up until now from 1920s and industrial grade welding. Over here we've got the new boy on the block. That's what's basically making these obsolete cheap, because these do it easier, smaller, less electricity. Yeah, they're a step above these for sure. The only thing that these don't do well, or can't really do, that these can do is run off of a generator. Even though they give you kVA ratings for these, don't do it. You almost certainly kill it, because these things are made for clean, proper, non-square waveform electricity to a main standard. These will run off the shittiest, dirtiest, crappiest, cruddiest, over voltage, under voltage electricity off of any old generator you care to throw at them. You cannot hurt these things except overheat them. Okay, so if you run this off of a generator, you almost certainly void your warranty, and you've got a 90% chance of killing it unless it's some super special generator. Okay, we'll come in close and we'll see how it's set up. One thing that an inverter, a welder, allows you to do and use to your advantage is change the polarity of the handpiece, of the electrode lead. I mean, you swap basically the ground and the handpiece around as you want. So normally would use the electrode lead on the negative setting, and that will give you maximum penetration. But if you want to weld light stuff, you would move it across to a positive, and that way you'll get less penetration and less chance of burn through. So to start off, we'll have this on the negative, which is closer to what a buzz box would be. A buzz box actually, I think, burns in deeper than these do from my experience, but you know, there's not much in it. So yeah, we'll start off, we'll use a 2.5 rod, set it to 110. I think that'll be about right. So we'll do some test burns. To do this, I'll be using a good quality Chinese brand rod in 2.5 mil. Now, these are rods for buzz boxes, AC welders. They are not polarity sensitive. Rods that are polarity sensitive, that are specifically made for DC welders, well, you know, you can buy them if you want to, but standard buzz box welding rods will work perfectly okay on either polarity. And in the 3.2 range, I'll use a liquid ARC rod, and these are both general purpose rods. So we'll do the 2.5 rod first, and this will be at 110 amps off of a 240 volt supply, 50 cycles. Nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with that. The neighbour's dog had to bark during the test, of course. Alright, that welded perfectly okay. Now we'll go to 3.2. And I'll bang it up to 140 amps. Should be about right. Once again, we've got a good earth clamp here. These are the best type of earth clamp. They can bite through rust. I mean, this is slightly rusty, this, but they'll bite through rust, paint, anything. Always give you a good earth. Perfect. Piece of cake. So she welds good. She welds real good. The 10 amp universal connector didn't even get, the stone muzzle was cold. The welder's stone muzzle was cold. Alright, let's change the polarity and try some thin stuff. Here's some 1.5 mil steel. I'm getting down into MIG territory here. And I'll use a 2.5 mil rod on this at 90 amp. See what happens. And we're on positive electrode. No problem. Okay, I've got some 0.9 mil here. I'll use a 2.5 mil rod on it at 50 amps. So there we go. Well, I did it. It's right on the limit. Right on the limit. And I got burned through one spot, but with a bit of practice, yeah, you should be able to do that. That's pretty impressive. You couldn't possibly do that with a buzz box. That'd be impossible. That's negative. Now we'll go positive. Well, here's the negative weld, 2.5, and here's the positive, 2.5. And they're both welded very, very similar, this rod. It obviously varies with the rod, depending on what you're using, but certainly it welds great. I mean, I've welded all over this piece of steel and tried different combinations, and great welder, great welder. Well, I've given this a real workover, a real workout. I've played around with the leads on positive and negative, thick and thin, different size rods. The thing hasn't missed a beat. It's worked perfectly well. Whether you use the positive or negative on the electrode is up to you. It really comes down to the metal gauge. On the thin stuff, you'll find that the lighter gauges, the positive will be better. On the heavy stuff, negative will do as good or a better job. So it just comes down to the best result you get from the rod and the metal you're working with. You know, with the rods, yeah. I use a couple of different 3.2s and one light positive and one light negative. So, you know, that's what you get with welding. Nothing's the same between all the various components, but as a welder, yeah, she's first class. It's really good, and at no stage did the thing get even remotely warm. I mean, I put my hand by the front after all this welding, cold as no warmth whatsoever, absolutely cold as a cucumber. And the same with the 10 amp plug. This will run on 10 amp easy peasy. I went up to 160 amp with it, 180 actually I went up to. No problem whatsoever, absolutely no problem. So yeah, anyone with a 10 amp feed, yeah, don't have any problems with this welder, it'll easily run off of your standard household electrical system. Well, to say this little welder is excellent is an understatement. I mean, it's great. It's really good, and it's quite a quality little unit, I think. From now on, it looks like my old Peerless will just be something for it to stand on. Peerless is good for a backup anyway, but certainly, yeah, this is a terrific value for money welder. Now, talking about money, it was $140 Australian when I asked to do the review, and I've since had it out for $110 on a discount voucher. So if you go to the link in the video description and go to their site, you can see how much it is in real dollars, your dollars. I presume the discount voucher might still be going. You just have to click on it and see. There's also another link in the video description that takes you to all the other tools they've got, and they've got a huge range of stuff that, yeah, hopefully I can review some more of this gear down the track. Now, on a 10 out of 10 rating, yeah, as a welder, you'd have to give it a 10 for sure. The only downside is the useless handbook, user manual. But, oh well, a welder's a welder, and you don't really need a user manual to run one. The one thing that is unclear on this, partly unclear, is the duty cycle. They rated it at 60% in the ad, in the actual description, but when you look at this welder, it goes to 250 amp. Now, the rating of 60% from what I can read in the specifications is at 250 amp. So that means that at a 160 or 180 amp, it should be running at 100% efficiency. And going on how cool this thing went, I mean, at no stage was there any hint of any warm air coming out of it. You'd have to say it must be running at 100% efficiency for the rod sizes that you'll be using in a domestic situation. I mean, it can't get any better than that. And yes, it will definitely run off a 10 amp system. No problem whatsoever. So if you live in the country area particularly, and you've got a bad, a low amperage power supply, this is the way to go. This would definitely get you out of a hole. And yeah, you can merrily weld to your heart's content. All right, well, that's it from me. I hope you enjoyed the video. I hope I can do a few more reviews on their stuff. They've got some interesting gear. I've got another one lined up that I'd like to do, which will be totally different to this once again. I'll try and vary it. And yeah, until next time, see you around.